very few private investors who were allowed by the government to purchase. You purchased IndyMac to purchase a failed bank. Why were you allowed to do that? Why were you one of the handful?
To come into the banking sector, really when the banking sector needed support, and buy IndyMac as a going concern. And I think in that sense, the FDIC found that very compelling.
So your investor team includes some very big names: Flowers, Paulson, Michael Dell's financial arm, George Soros Fund.
If you had been the Secretary of the Treasury for this current administration, is there something you think you could have done and done better that would have changed the outcome in a material way? Meaning, I think there's a lot of economists who look at this and think actually things are pretty on a relative basis compared to where they started the ball game and where we are today. They go, actually, that's a pretty great outcome. Again, looking relative to the rest of the world. And recognizing that the Federal Reserve plays a huge role in all of these things.
Well, let me just say I agree with your comment that even if inflation comes down, prices will stop at much higher levels, which is a real affordability issue. But, I mean, I think the simple answer is there was just too much government spending. I mean, I think when you look back in COVID, we needed to do the first two bills or there would have been a worldwide depression. We shouldn't have done the last $1 trillion in hindsight. And there shouldn't have been the continued multi-trillion-dollar spending afterwards. The deficit is out of control. The debt is too high. We had a debt pre-COVID that we were beginning to pay down.
But do you think that attacking those issues would have had an impact on inflation?
Absolutely. The government spending is what caused inflation. It started in COVID, and it continued on with multi-trillion-dollar
Gasoline
packages.
is still up 50% higher than what it was. And if your paycheck is still below, in real terms, where it was 3 years ago, if you're buying, and it is, average weekly earnings are still below before Biden came in.
If you're worried about the economy, are you also worried about inflation, a stagflation situation?
I am, and I think Jamie talked about that scenario. So, I mean, I think we're not out of the woods yet. So we're in a period of high interest rates. I think the economy is going to slow down, and it's something we've got to carefully watch.
Is the longer-term borrowings that we could do in the United States with lower rates. I know that's an issue that you have opened up for discussion, long-term borrowing of U.S. Treasuries. Where does that stand, and when might we actually see longer than 30-year bonds issued by the U.S. Treasury?
Well, this is something I have talked about over the last 2 years, and it is something we are very seriously considering. We're looking at issuing a 50-year bond, what we would call an ultra-long bond. We think there's some demand for it, and that's something we'll very seriously consider for next year. There's some technology issues we need to make sure we have in place. There's market issues, but we would do this in a way that if there is demand, it's something that we would meet. I personally think it would be a good thing to expand the U.S.'s borrowing capabilities. And although our job is not to market time rates, I would say it's obviously quite attractive for us to extend and de-risk the U.S. Treasury borrowing. So we're also looking at extending the weighted average maturity of the Treasury borrowings to de-risk this for the U.S. people.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, guys, make sure you're in the Cash App. And that's right, guys, we have Steve Mnuchin in the house. And guys, you know when President Trump was in office, I used to expose Trump and Steve Mnuchin. And we know Steve Mnuchin is the best movie producer in the game. But guys, never ever forget history. I'm an old man, so I definitely know history. Y'all know I love history. I love it. They expect you not to remember. Guys, remember, technology can be used for good or evil. Because it would be impossible for me not only to bring you this video, but to bring you the truth. And remember, guys, the Crypto Teacher gives you the truth, nothing but the truth. Yes, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. And because I give you the truth, you're going to hate me, but that's okay, guys. I'm just a watchman on the wall. And we have Steve Mnuchin, of course, guys, One West Bank. and we have the old players coming in. It's the same game and the same players. He came in, saved the bank, and robbed the old folks out of their property. You know I did a video on that. And then now he's coming back in again as the banks are falling again, because they know they're going to swallow up these small and medium-sized banks the same way they did in the last crash of 2008. And Steve Mnuchin talks about this debt. Yes, guys, remember, all this money printing started when Trump was in office. Only thing they did was handed it over to Biden. But guys, they could have easily refinanced this debt for over 50 years. They decided not to. Why? Because they wanted America to crumble. And then, guys, we have TikTok. Steve Mnuchin wants TikTok. Wonder why, guys. We know TikTok is nothing but data. And we know data is the new gold. And then on top of it, you get to control the minds of the youth. Guys, I know this sounds like a movie. But remember, your life is an illusion. And TV is your reality. And then we have Steve Mnuchin on Social Security. Guys, Social Security is definitely over. Pensions are definitely over. Why? Because we're going to get universal basic income. With that programmable money, telling you what, where, and when and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you. And that's the reason why it's so important for the sheep to wake up. And then, guys, we have the Ethereum upgrade complete. And Ethereum is going to change everything that we do, but especially in banking. Remember, DeFi is definitely the new banking. And don't forget, guys, Ameribor is on Ethereum. Not just JP Morgan with his hands all over it, but don't forget about Ameribor, how important that rate is. And then on top of it, guys, you're going to have a $100 trillion derivatives market on Ethereum being ran by an algorithm with not a human involved. I brought you plenty of videos on that with them saying it right out their mouth. Remember, they want you to own nothing, but they want you also to be happy. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Start with TikTok, because I think we're all trying to understand what's happening here, whether it should be banned, divested, or otherwise. And if it is divested, who may be a potential buyer?
Well, you know, when I was Treasury Secretary, I chaired CFIUS, and CFIUS approved, and I had President Trump sign an order that TikTok had to be sold. And I continue to believe that. So I think the legislation should pass, and I think it should be sold. I understand the technology. It's a great business, and I'm going to put together a group to buy TikTok.
You're trying to buy TikTok?
I am, because this should be owned by U.S. businesses. There's no way that the Chinese would ever let a U.S. company own something like this in China.
You said, have you already put a group together?
Yeah, well, I'm working on it.
You're exploring a group.
I've spoken to a bunch of people, but
who would be part of your group?
I can't tell that to you now, but
it
would be a combination of investors, so there would be no one investor that controlled this. And the issue is all about the technology. This needs to be controlled by U.S.
Let me ask you a very practical. How much do you think the company is worth? And also, given the fact that one of the things I think we have learned is the company doesn't make money right now. Still a money-losing enterprise.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't be a great strategy if I said on TV what I thought the business was worth if I was trying to buy it.
There have been valuations that have been speculated, let's say $50 billion. Do you think it's over, under? Let's play the game.
It's worth a lot of money, let me just say. I think the number one issue that needs to be solved is the technology transfer. And if we can figure out a way to solve that, which I think we can, then, I think the price is some large amount of money up front and probably a big earn out. Because you're right, the business, my understanding is, does not make money today.
And does that require the rollover of the current investing group into your group? And would they be part of that?
I have spoken to some of the existing investors. I would propose that they would roll over the U.S. investors. And my guess is they would.
We talk about entitlements?
Absolutely.
We just had I'm not going to get into it, but neither candidate will even touch the third rail, President Biden or former President Trump. Do you think that President Trump could get elected, if he said he was going to, what we accused him of saying a couple minutes ago, if he actually did say, I will look at means testing, I will look at ways of reforming Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security so that we can somehow bring it into 20 years from now so it'll be solvent. I'll make the hard choices we have to do. Have you told him to do that?
I haven't spoken to him about it recently, but let me tell you what I think.
Okay.
And, you know, again, when I was Treasury Secretary, I had a big title. I was the managing trustee of the Social Security Trust Fund, and I had to put out the report. And I believe the current report says that it's going to run out of money in about 10 years. So I think there needs to be a bipartisan commission in Congress. This needs to be led by Congress. And we need to make sure that the current recipients of Social Security are protected. But we also need to look at a scenario that Social Security doesn't go broke, and that's going to be dealing with the future participants. So there has to be a bipartisan solution. I think it's probably not led by either one of the presidents, but there's no reason Congress can't start working on this now. So after the election, this can be dealt with.
So you acknowledge that neither president, and actually we're both president, we rarely get to say that. So neither candidate will say that prior to the election because they can't.
I'm not going to, you know, whether they do or they don't, that's up to them.
But you think that they should, but don't hold our breath.
I think there needs to be a bipartisan commission because this is going to run out of money. So this is not something that's a theoretical
How do we get bipartisan
discussion.
when we can't get either side to say it?
Well,
Does someone have to say it first? Does someone have to?
We just got a big group together on TikTok. I mean, passing this in the House overwhelmingly. I hope Schumer brings this up right.
Sure. So the big one is EIP 4844, also known as proto-danksharding. And first, it's important to understand where this fits in Ethereum's roadmap. So Ethereum was originally designed to prioritize security and decentralization at the expense of scalability. This means that design decisions were made that made it very straightforward and low hardware requirements to participate as a validator in the network. But the flip side to that was that there were significant limitations in terms of transaction throughput. However, Ethereum has a roadmap to develop scalability, and that roadmap is centralized around, or centered on, I should say, on layer 2 rollup chains. These are built off the Ethereum mainnet, and they execute transactions as a batch and return those to the Ethereum mainnet to settle and therefore benefit from Ethereum's security. What is happening with this latest upgrade is that the blocks on the Ethereum mainnet will now have a dedicated space for data posted by layer 2 rollups. This space will be referred to or will create binary large objects or blobs. And so instead of posting data as regular transactions on the Ethereum mainnet, rollups will have this dedicated space. This means that they will not be competing with other activity on the Ethereum mainnet to put through transactions, and that means that they will have their own market for transaction fees. Those fees should then be significantly lower than they are today. So rollup fees are already significantly lower than on the Ethereum mainnet, but that should now change very materially. This is important when we think about applications of Ethereum, particularly in the financial market context. So where scalability is important, but also considerations around permissioning and privacy or can be significant roadblocks as well. We see an emergence of technologies around rollups in the Ethereum ecosystem, and this latest upgrade through Denkun is going to facilitate scalability through those innovations.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
we're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Sonali Basak. Sonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
very much a traditionalist. I like staying with the dollar. You know that from when I was there. It's make the dollar the choice. I hate when countries go off the dollar. I would not allow countries to go off the dollar, because when we lose that standard, that will be like losing a revolutionary war. That will be a hit to our country, just like losing a war. And we can't let that happen. And too many countries now are fighting to get off the dollar. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.